You know, folks, you look at this NWA replica belt, this toy replica belt here, and you say to yourself, what's so special about this championship anyway, besides its long, lustrous, historic legacy? Well, one, the NWA was the launching point, as we all know, most notably, for many popular wrestling promotions that we now know and love, or used to love. One, of course, being WWE, which was part of the National Wrestling Alliance when they were the CWF, the Capital Wrestling Federation, or whatever it was called, Capital Championship Wrestling, and then went on to be the WWF, still associated with the NWA in some ways. And then, in the late 70s, early 80s, decided to pull away from the NWA and just become the WWF. And then, of course, as we all know, going into the late 90s and not late 90s, but going into the late 80s, late 80s, early 90s, WCW did the same thing. They decided to pull away from the NWA. Now, other promotions did the same thing. WCCW decided to pull away a little bit, but not totally. They were still part of them to the end. The CWA sort of pulled away, but still part of them. And so did the AWA. The AWA pulled away and established themselves, I think, before anybody else did. But what makes the NWA special, most importantly, what makes the NWA Championship special? Well, the NWA Championship is very reminiscent of a championship right now in the third largest wrestling promotion worldwide, if not nationwide, known to everyone, I should say, as ROH, Ring of Honor. Now, the reason I say that is because I was just watching a little bit of video clip, a Ring of Honor title defense between Colt Cabana and Davey Richards. Now, the person that posted this didn't really exactly say what promotion this was being held in, what independent promotion this was being held in, but apparently it looked like it was being held inside an armory. And of course the ring was a little smaller than the average Ring of Honor ring, but still, it looked like it was being showcased or being contested inside an armory. How do I know this? When I used to go to CSW events in Lawrence, Kansas, the main arena, the main home base, if you will, of not Ring of Honor, but of CSW, was the Lawrence National Armory. Now, it was kind of hectic getting back and forth, I'll tell you that. I mean, I can remember a couple of times I rode my bike in the snow, I had to get rides, or I would just walk. But it was worth it because the matches there were unbelievable. But here's why. The Ring of Honor Championship reminds me a lot of this. It seems Ring of Honor has some leeway to allow their champions to defend in any promotion, any independent promotion, against anyone, including their own talent. Now, you would think to yourself, now you might ask yourself, well, wait a minute, Ring of Honor is supposed to be on the verge of being even bigger, getting more exposure, and yet they're still having the champions defend in places like that? Well, of course. You see, from what I can tell, Ring of Honor is about showcasing that pro wrestling is real, and that it shouldn't matter where you wrestle or defend your championship at or against, as long as it gets defended and it shows that you're a strong champion. You see, the NWA Championship, the one thing I miss about the NWA being associated with TNA is that when TNA would showcase the NWA Championship as their main title, that it allowed some major stars like Christian, Jeff Jarrett, Rhino, you know, list can go on, AJ, you know, R-Truth when he was Ron the Truth Killings, you know, again, the list goes on and on. of people that when the NWA showcased their championship in TNA, those names that I mentioned would go out and not just defend it on TNA pay-per-views and programs and house shows, but they would defend it. They would defend this championship in other independent promotions because they had those obligations. Now, some people will say that's one reason why many promotions like TNA, ECW, WWE, WCW, and of course way before any of them, I think, AWA decided to pull away. Because they didn't like the idea that whoever was wearing the championship was told of where to wrestle and when to wrestle instead of wrestling in the promotion that it was wanted or they were officially a part of. I mean, when Shane Douglas took this championship belt, ladies and gentlemen, in 1994 and threw it down, he wasn't just ushering in the age and the reign, if you will, of ECW, Extreme Championship Wrestling. He, Todd Gordon, and Paul Heyman were telling the NWA and Danny Coluzzo that, hey, if I win the championship here, I should defend it here. This should be our championship, not your championship. This should be ours. But you see, that's not how the National Wrestling Alliance thinks. And that's sort of the same way the Ring of Honor committee works. Ring of Honor works. You see, the Ring of Honor and NWA are very similar, is that they allow their champions to go out, like I mentioned, to other independent promotions. And whether it's against fellow Ring of Honor or NWA wrestlers, or against challengers from other independent promotions, they are allowed to defend their titles to show that their titles mean something, that their championships mean something. Now, I know you're thinking, well, there's no way WWE would ever do that. Well, of course, that's right. Unless WWE got back into a negotiation with a Japan or Mexico promotion, that's the only way their world or WWE championships would be defended, is if they, like I said, made a new commitment with a Japanese or Mexican wrestling promotion. Let me check my time here. And what I mean by that is, folks, is if, let's say, WWE decides, okay, we want to make a deal with New Japan, or we want to make a deal with All Japan, then only through a deal like that would they be able to defend their World Heavyweight or WWE championships in that organization against their wrestlers. The same with Mexico. If the WWE decided, okay, let's make a deal with CMLL, or let's make history and make a deal with AAA, or or IWG, or IRWG, or whoever, then only then would Vince McMahon, WWE, would allow their champions to defend in those promotions if they had a partnership with them and had some kind of stake in that promotion. Again, same goes for the Japan promotions. Those are the only ways. Now, again, this is what I like about again, even though I have respect for the legacy of the World and WWE Championships, the fact is the NWA and the ROH Championships, you definitely have to have that same respect, if not more so, because they're not just limited to the promotions. The ROH title, like I said, is not just limited to its promotion. ROH could be defended, obviously, in any independent promotion against fellow ROH wrestlers or anybody else. I mean, it'd be like let's say APW, All Pro Wrestling. It'd be like their champion, their Universal champion or APW champion, saying, you know what, I want to challenge ROH champion Davey Richards to a match for the ROH title here in All Pro Wrestling. All they probably have to do is make sure Davey's the champion, or whoever's the champion in ROH, say, can this guy, do you guys got room in your schedule for this guy to come here and defend? And there you go. They just have to work out the details. And next thing you know, you probably see someone from ROH, the world champion, defending the title, just like the NWA champion would. in APW, and the same thing with the NWA. So that's why I have this NWA championship right here, to give you an example of what I think of the ROH title and how much respect I have for both that and this. Respect for the fact that you are allowed as a champion to go defend in any territory and promotion you want. So, except for WWE and probably TNA. But that's how much respect you gotta have for both those titles. Because it's not every day that a legendary promotion that's still going today, as strong as they can try to be, as well as what is being considered the third largest wrestling promotion in the world. It's not every day that those kind of promotions allow their champions to defend in other independent areas. So, give me your comments down below. Tell me what you think of the idea of having the ROH titles defended in the same fashion the NWA titles defended in. So, comment down below, tell me if you agree with anything I said, and I will talk to y'all later.